Welcome to Her Fabulous Financial Future, a podcast by Women's Wealth. Here at Women's Wealth, we want to be your best financial friend, your BFF on money matters. If you've ever thought, I'm useless with money, or it feels like I should know more about this stuff, but somehow I just don't, then this is for you. I'm Sam Seckham, an award-winning chartered financial planner with decades of experience as an independent financial advisor. But much more relevant and interesting are the amazing women I meet and their stories. Let's talk about finances, bust through the taboos and take charge. We can create our own fabulous financial futures. Thank you for joining us, Madeleine. You are what I consider to be a modern day superwoman. When I first met you, you were kind of navigating a divorce, raising children, you're doing a master's, and you work freelance in marketing full on. Not only that, you've had some health challenges along the way and, you know, lots of balls in the air at one time. As I say, real life modern supermum as far as I'm concerned. So I'm absolutely thrilled that you've agreed to chat to us and maybe some of the other ladies out there who are feeling the challenges that you've had to get through will get something from this and be, I don't know, encouraged by your story, but know also that there's some help around to get some of these important things sorted out.
Thank you very much, Sam. It's lovely to be invited to speak to you today.
Can you tell me, when you started looking around for a financial advisor, what had you looking? How did that work out? And how did we compare to the choices that were out there?
Oh, you guys were what I was looking for, but didn't know how to find initially. I think I had the fairly standard experience with financial advisors in my life before, when I was part of a more traditional couple as a setup. There were times where we sought financial advice and we tended to turn to I'm going to be frank, the pale, male and stale kind of school of advice. It was tended to be mostly men who were used to dealing with families who might be coming in to talk about mortgages or maybe life insurance or maybe, longer term investments. And the focus was very much on, how do you together make sensible decisions? And it was very much focused on the money, on the figures. So what have you got in the bank account? How much can you borrow, etc. Very functional and very traditional. And what I found that I needed, as you say, I was navigating a divorce. I was working on my own to support my family. I needed somebody who would think beyond the money in the bank account and think, actually, what is the broader, more holistic conversation going on here? What is this woman really wanting to achieve in life? And how is money going to either block her or enable her to do that? And so I didn't want to be sitting across from somebody with a clipboard and a whole bunch of forms from Barclays and, Halifax. I wanted to be able to have a much more broader discussion. And so I remember jumping on the internet and thinking, there must be a way of getting out of this really traditional sort of lock of financial advisors. And I went to the sort of, I very, very much wanted to be speaking to somebody who was certified, qualified, had all of the right credentials, because it's the pitfalls are huge potentially. So I did look at all the kind of accredited websites and things, and I was just scrolling through, these again, to be frank, these male faces that just looked like they didn't understand what my life was like, and I was going to have to spend time explaining this more nuanced approach, and it made me feel tired. I got in touch with a few of them. Again, I felt a bit embarrassed. I felt a bit vulnerable, and I felt like I was going to be just not an easy client for them. So this is where I adjusted my search terms, and I started searching for women, finance, support, post-divorce, and really sort of trying to use a lot of those keywords that led me to you guys. And there was something about the authenticity and the mission of what you're trying to do, which is to really speak to women at the way that I see it is that you're speaking to women at major changes of their life, looking at how they can be more in control of the decisions that they make, not because they want to necessarily, be pulling in the big bucks when it comes to financial investments, although of course that's lovely, but it's more about how do we make those decisions in a way which is informed and thoughtful. And so all of that I could see on your website made me think, yes, yes, yes. I got in touch with you guys. And right from the very beginning, I felt very seen.
Good. Because, that's what matters to us. We're dealing with people here. And as you say, often at a vulnerable point in their lives, they're transitioning and something's changing and it could go one way or the other and there's emotions involved. And you're right, most of the women we speak to, the last thing on their mind is getting rich. It's much more about getting secure, feeling safe, feeling responsible around the decisions that are being made, just as you described, so that you can say to yourself when you look back in 5 years' time, I did the right thing. I'm proud of myself. I did the right thing for me and my family. And we recognise that is so much more important than how rich can I get, how quick. It's just not what women are interested in. That, of course, as you say, it's very nice to be financially secure, but it's more about, am I making the right decisions? Am I doing the best I can?
I think we're really used to thinking about looking after our health and our physical health and our mental health and
our children.
Our children's health. This sort of sense of literacy when it comes to so many different parts of our lives is so important. And again, when major life changes are coming up, you're very aware of that. And so you're wanting to do the best in each part of your life. Financial literacy can feel really overwhelming. And I think there's reasons why it's overwhelming for people. And I think partly it's to do with the industry, wanting to be the experts and wanting to kind of be seen as the kind of the fount of all knowledge. Whereas this idea of us being literate in our own finances is it's equally important. And so finding somebody who was happy to kind of talk about things in that way was important. And I think it's really important for me to say as well that one of the things that I came to you guys and was very open about was my sense of financial panic. Not because I was financially badly off. In fact, it was almost, I didn't understand where I was financially. So it was, I was intimidated by numbers, literally. I do find numbers really hard to work with. I was intimidated by the idea of bringing in all of my finances into one place and having them transparent to myself, let alone another person. And the language of financial planning is not one that I speak. I absolutely held my hands up and said, look, I'm probably going to be quite confused and ask lots of silly questions. And I'm not going to pretend that I'm confident with this. And I think that reaction that I got back from you guys was, that's okay. We're going to work as equals on this. I never at any point felt patronized. I felt that you were able to say, this is a woman who knows what she's doing in life, but she's not necessarily that comfortable with numbers. We're not going to try and force her to be comfortable. We're just going to present the information in a way that actually makes sense to her. And that's what you've been doing.
I love hearing that. I mean, obviously, you're absolutely bang on that everything we do is about empowering the ladies that we work with to create their own fabulous financial futures. And I do think that traditional financial services has been guilty, exactly as you said, of actually doing a little bit of patronise, a pat on the head. Don't you worry about it. We're the experts. And they play with that asymmetry of information to their advantage. And I don't even try and defend some of the things that have gone on in financial services. But what I do say is that Women's Wealth is out to bust all of that. And I'm so glad that you've seen it and it attracted you and that it's working for you. So Thank you. We love working with you, by the way. We've seen you go over the last couple of years from strength to strength in terms of your understanding and your confidence around it. And the numbers are working, aren't they?
They are. And I have to say, the word working for me means that when I have a conversation with you guys, I come out of it feeling more calm and having more clarity than I did going in. And as you say, it's not about how rich can we get. It's more about, am I making the right decisions about the contracts that I'm taking on, or am I putting money in the right pot? That for me is my money working for me. So that's a very important part of how we work together.
One of the big decisions I remember was around, should I buy a house or not? And that was really nebulous, wasn't it? You couldn't work out how to tackle that. Can you just let us know how that worked out for you?
That was a really important decision-making point for me. And it was wrapped up in emotional security. Did I need a house to feel secure? Did I need it for financial security? Was I wanting to buy a house because everybody else was wanting to buy a house? I think my observation about financial decisions, certainly in my life, is that they tend to be quite contagious. So if everyone is buying houses, well, then I feel like I need to buy a house too. And actually, when we broke it down, we were able to have some really practical conversations around, okay, well, if you were to buy a house now, how many bedrooms would you need? How many children have you got at home? What if you bought a house in 10 years' time? What might that house look like? What is the cost benefit of buying one now and trading it for a smaller one later? Those things actually, they were very practical questions. I could see them map out on the modelling if I want one way or the other. What's the impact of rent, etc.? And instead of having those kind of quite worrying conversations I was having with my friends over coffee, who would say, rent, it's dead money, it's not going to help you. They all very well-meaning, but all sort of not terribly well-informed of my own personal financial situation. So I feel like that clarity of being able to model different scenarios with my actual details in the modelling and be able to make an informed decision as to, well, if I'm going to rent for another 10 years, this is what that's going to look like. And if I'm going to buy, this is the hit that I'll take here, but this is the increase that I might have later. That gave me almost I'm using the word calm a lot, and I'm using it quite deliberately. It gave me the calm thinking space to say, do you know what? I don't have to rush into any decision, but at least the decision I make will be informed and it won't be a panic one. And for me, the right choice so far has been to decide not to buy. And I think that's played out in a way that I'm really happy with so far. So, that was a very important point.
Because I remember if I don't buy, what do I do then? How do I prepare myself for the future? And of course, there were other options. You just weren't as familiar with owning those assets as you were with owning a property. So we needed to kind of level up your knowledge on those alternative things you could have and invest in, and they would grow, and you would still have the capital available to swap out for a house later on. When you decided the time was right and were ready to make the decision. So it wasn't a question of, leaving you. And I think that's the thing that we know sometimes that our clients don't. What are the other things you could do instead? And we love introducing them into the planning and helping you explore. And as you say, the numbers speak for themselves a lot of the time. It's just somebody's got to put the options next to each other and say, well, that one works like that. That one works like that. Which one do you think is going to work best for you? So that's where we've got our superpower. But the thing is that our clients enjoy the process of financial planning. We've definitely seen light bulb moments for people, and it's all part of that cash flow modelling that you talked about. Arranging investments is just another thing we do. The cash flow modelling is where all the decisions are made. Can you tell us, like during the process, you've talked about that. Was that the most useful bit of it for you, or was there something else that sticks out as a useful part of the process?
I would say there's many useful parts of the process, and they were useful for different reasons. So being able to connect and being able to have a framework that you guys helped me put in place. So regular conversations with you, regular people that I spoke to each time, dedicated kind of sessions where I knew I had to get my stuff together in order to have a useful conversation. So the very first kind of disclosure process, this discovery process of bringing all of my financial kind of matters into the one place, that was hugely useful and continues to be a very useful thing to do. Secondly was the modelling, which you've talked about. There's something... There's a lovely little moment between you going, okay, we're going to click the button and see what that shows us. And then it pops up on screen. You go, oh, that's either really good or really bad. But it's playing out in the virtual world, so I can see the consequences of my decisions without living the consequences of my decisions. So that I also found really, really helpful. And I think the third part, which was really critical, was it's one thing to make decisions, but it's another thing to be able to make those decisions come to life. So I really valued having your support on making that leap into deciding which packages I was going to buy into, where I was going to put my money, and that process of, these are the packages that are available. This is what you should be looking for. This is how to navigate all the different options you've got in front of you. And I found that is unpleasant because I hate dealing with kind of financial stuff. But you guys made it as straightforward as it could be.
Okay, so that's the feeling supported through a bit of a challenging part of the process.
Well, it's one thing to kind of talk about what you might want to do, but to say, right, you've got to go into the bank and you've got to go and transfer money from A to B, and you've got to really literally put your money where your mouth is. It's not that I needed, not that you guys were pushing me into anything at all. It was more the confidence that when I had questions, I could come to you. When the bank were doing their due diligence, I could be prepared for that and have everything that I needed to hand. When you're talking about significant sums of money, and we all have a different understanding of what significant is, but that feeling of being really nervous to click the button from it going from one account to another, I think that's familiar to everybody, and that's not to be undertaken lightly. And I felt like you guys were very attentive during that process.
Again, it's something that our research told us, Madeleine, that, people do, robo-advice is not going to cut it for a lot of ladies, because pressing that button, making that final decision, as you say, is tough. That's a real kind of point of crisis where it might not actually happen. And I see way too much money sitting in bank accounts for way too long because of exactly that obstacle. So we are aware of it, and we are, encouraging people to choose the amount they have in the bank for a purpose. It has to have intention, and anything that isn't part of that intention needs to be invested, really. Otherwise, you get robbed long term. So that's part of our mission, and helping you know your numbers, so as you know what's in the bank and why, and you know what needs to be moved into the investments, and then helping you make that transition. So great that you recognise those bits of the service and that they are important to you. And we really, as I say, we really like working with you. We admire what you're achieving. It's always a thrill to catch up with you and see what you've got through in a year. So thank you. Relationships are all about what Women's Wealth is all about, and we like being your best financial friend, and we enjoy seeing how you're doing every year. So thanks for sharing your journey with us. I'm really hoping that it'll inspire some of the ladies out there to take on board some financial planning, because it does help. It does help kind of with the other, frees your bandwidth up, doesn't it, for the other stuff in life. So
I would say that's one of the best gifts that you guys have given to me, is the clarity to make the decisions that I need to make for myself, for my family, for my health, without panicking about what the financial repercussions might be. So thank you. I think it's a great service that you guys offer, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for being here with us. Have a great day. Look after yourself, Maddie.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you for listening, and I hope you found it useful. Let us know what you thought by leaving us a review, and give us any hints or tips on subjects that you would really benefit from if we covered them in future episodes. We want to be useful. Women's Wealth are independent financial advisors, and we're authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. But the information presented here is not intended to be personal advice for you. So what might be good for somebody else might not be right for you. If you want to talk to us about your personal needs, then feel free to jump on a free Zoom call by visiting Women's Wealth, that's womans-wealth.co.uk.